Good afternoon, everyone. This is another episode of the Karen's podcast. And as a reminder, if you know anyone that you think might enjoy this podcast, please share it. We'd be so appreciative. You can hear us new for free every Monday on Spotify, Apple, Castbox, and now we're also on YouTube. How's everybody doing this week?
Pretty good.
Good.
Phenomenal.
Awesome.
Healthy.
Healthy. That's good. And listeners, if you think you're hearing another voice, a man's
male.
voice,
A male voice.
we
Call the
have a
Kens
guest.
now.
Our second guest.
The
We're
Kens.
very excited to have him. Darren is Carolyn's brother, older brother, and he's a bit of a expert on the topic that we're talking about today, which is generally conspiracies. But I think we're going to talk about one specific kind of long-standing conspiracy that may not be a conspiracy now, right? We're kind of debating that a little bit today.
Was it
Yeah.
ever a conspiracy? I think the cover up was the
True.
conspiracy. The actual
Good
acts
point.
are facts.
Look at that big brain on Megan. That's
Saying
true.
that.
Coming in strong.
Coming
Goes
in
with the
strong.
hair.
Exactly. Goes with the big hair. Yes. Beautiful big hair. Yeah. So, listeners, we're talking about alien life, right? And this we've talked about it a little bit on the podcast before, but the movie Age of Disclosure came out recently, and there was a 2-hour podcast on Joe Rogan talked about it in a lot more detail, actually, with the producer, right? Wasn't he the producer
Yeah.
of the? Yeah. And a lot of interesting facts. And we all, I think, listened to it or watched one of those, if not both. I know I watched.
I didn't listen to the
And listened.
podcast.
Yeah,
But I
you'll have
watched-
to at
I
some
watched-
point. It's pretty interesting. But
Yeah, I watched the doc. Who in the documentary was the interviewee? The main guy that was speaking, the Louis, or like who-
no, you mean on
It wa-
the Rogan podcast?
on the Rogan podcast?
He
You said it was
wasn't-
the producer. He wasn't.
Yeah,
in
he
the
wasn't
film.
in the movie. Mm-mm.
Okay,
Yeah,
He
he's
was
the
the
in a doc-
producer, I think.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, but all interesting. So,
I
Darren,
hate
why
Seth
don't
Rogen, so I didn't want to listen. But
Ah.
the documentary was
I don't have a problem with him, but Joe Rogan, right? Not Seth Rogan. I don't even know. Maybe
Joe
I'm
Rogan.
getting- Yeah, it's like Joe Rogan, not Seth Rogan. I'm like Seth
Rogen I
Rogen is
love.
an actor, I think, but
No, well, yeah,
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
mind him. But
but he's
Um,
multifaceted.
Darren, why don't you kind of give us your take since you're our fifth Karen today?
Well, I appreciate it. And I don't know that I'm an expert, but kind of a hobby of mine, maybe for the last 15 years, is just kind of exploring alternative theories, looking under, interesting stories, mythology, just kind of go down the rabbit hole. And so
Yeah.
I would start by saying I am not I'm not down the rabbit hole with this whole government slow release of documents. Like they said, I'm going to release the Kennedy files, and I don't really follow it that closely because it's such a slow trickle, it feels like, of they release little things, but I would say that the alien theory I'm pretty well versed in from.
Why are we calling it a theory?
Well, I mean, a lot of people call it a theory, just like Christianity, is a theory, or
Exactly. But the whole point of the movie, the doc that we just watched, was that it's ain't a theory. Like, these are facts.
Well, you're right.
There that people are protecting us from. These aren't theories like Christianity. This is like actual shit that they.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. That maybe wasn't the perfect analogy, but the whole conversation of aliens or government cover-ups has been since Roswell. I think in 1947.
Right.
70 years of just this never-ending conspiracies cover up this and that. So I do think that, but obviously with the invention of, like, everybody has a really cool camera in their hand now, and so I think that and the technology's gotten better with, like, Air Force planes and things like that. So there is something undeniable out there for sure. Yeah. I think that's about as far as my kind of expertise really goes. Is I'm a believer that there's something going on.
Yeah.
And really quick to backtrack, for all the listeners, that
All five.
documentary that we're talking about,
Oh yeah.
that we're basing this show on, I mean, the short version
Yeah, we
is that,
summarize.
the
Yeah.
military and contractors and people in our government are finally coming out on,
Record.
they're putting their face behind it and saying,
Like whistleblowers and
yeah, and
Yeah.
saying
Put
that
their
it's
lives behind it, honestly.
not really a conspiracy anymore, that the government is in, or maybe private contractors are, we have alien spacecraft, we have
Yes.
it, and we have been attempting to reverse engineer it for how many
50
years?
years.
Yeah.
I
50
think I think
plus.
since
More.
Roswell.
Yeah, I
70
think
years.
since, yes, I think they had said sightings had happened before Roswell, but Roswell was kind of that kickoff of like, there's
I think it
actual
was.
material, there's
Yeah. So
things, there's structures, but what did they call them? It was such a weird term, but like
biologics.
non-human, yes, non-human biologics. And I was like,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
so, like the fact that they have this, and I just found the thing that I found the most interesting is how in small groups, it's like everybody had all this information, but nobody wanted to give the information to anybody else.
Yeah.
So, like, if anything that
It's
I
like
learned, it's
siloed.
like, yeah,
Compartmentalization or something
yeah, or
like that.
just power and control. Like they said, we have this information. We didn't want to give it to another branch. They have this information. They don't want to give it to us. I mean, the one of the big lessons or takeaways for me for the whole thing was like, God, can we trust the government at all? Who's allegedly working for us, the people, and
I
like
mean,
they're trying to
stopped,
protect you
I
from. I
stopped
mean, we all
trusting them a
knew
long time
a
ago.
long time ago, as did I. But like, I mean, when you're trying to introduce this to new people, you're talking to people who trust the government, who
Mhm.
think that they're doing the right thing. They're protecting us from information that we're not ready for. And
Well, Megan, I think another almost bigger point was a lot of this was out of the government's hands. It seems like these military contractors that have been
yeah,
around for decades, they're the ones kind of benefiting from this, kind of running the show because, like they were saying, they're just going to wait out the 4 or 6 year term, whatever
Right.
congressman or senator or president is
total,
in the office.
absolutely. And then it's
And
in
so
someone
they don't
else's
even
hands
know
who they don't
anymore.
even know anymore. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Which was kind of
Um,
crazy to me.
or just with the fact that they had that legacy system that like nobody wanted to like give. I mean, there should have been some sort of protocol or some sort of intelligence agency that was set up specifically for this then, and they would have had all the information. It just seemed that there was a lot of information, and a lot of 16 different intelligence agencies that work for the US had no idea. Had
Yeah.
no idea. I was like, I could have maybe named 5 6
Yeah.
Right.
I
16,
think it's like a
and we're
black
not getting
hat
any
kind
of
of
this
thing.
information. Like that's crazy to me. Sorry. It's just
Well, I think
crazy.
that's also how, anything that's truly top secret really is kept top secret. I mean, just like
Yeah.
these guys talked about, everything's compartmentalized. Only certain people know certain things so that they can't leak everything, so that they
Mhm.
can't, compromise
The
quote
need to
unquote
know.
So they
national
can't tell the
security.
truth.
Yeah.
No, it's they can't tell the truth.
I
Yeah.
That's
mean,
what it
that's a
is. It's like,
factual
yeah,
military tactic is to
Yeah.
yeah.
compartmentalize information. And I mean, I think Bob, just to touch back on Bob Lazar, I think he's kind of like the OG whistleblower, I think.
And Darren, can you tell the listeners who Bob Lazar is specifically? Do you
Um,
know? Anyone?
well, just the layman version, sure. Bob Lazar worked for, area. Everybody knows the term Area 51.
Hmm.
So for your listeners, like everybody knows what Area 51 is. There's many compartments of Area 51, but just in layman's terms, he worked for Area 51, and he came clean in 1989 and said that he was working on reverse engineering a craft that had been recovered by this recovery team,
Hmm.
and that he was working on his specialty was propulsion, and I believe jet propulsion.
Hmm.
And so he was brought in to kind of reverse engineer the propulsion system of this craft, and it turned out to be some sort of an anti-gravity device.
Hmm.
Well, he subsequently then he goes out and he kind of like does the initial whistleblower thing, and then they proceed to like
ruin his
life.
life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
They
okay.
rip, obviously said he's a kook, he's a
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah.
whoremonger, like
Yeah.
this,
Which it
anyway,
sounds
it was
like they
this,
did with everybody kind of who came out
right,
after him
right.
and in the beginning, which is so sad considering that this is my big thing. They had the truth. Like they knew the truth and they still made people like
Well,
that
I think
feel,
Right.
their justification, and this was one of the things I was gonna, ask you guys,
yeah.
you know, so the justification is, yeah, they ruined his life. They basically silenced him and others in the name of national security, basically saying that he was compromising national security.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
so, is it now knowing what we know now, was it fair? Probably not. Or
No.
was it? I mean, was it fair to, was he really compromising national security, or was he just, it seemed like in his defense, he was just trying to let the people know, not the secrets that we had necessarily
Yeah.
about the
Yeah.
Right.
technology,
Yeah.
but just the fact
Well,
that we had been
That we're not alone.
contacted.
Yeah.
We were, in
yes.
possession of multiple um whatever UAPs,
Hmm.
biologics,
Right.
etc. So, they use the excuse of protecting national security, but
Just comes
knowing what
down
we
to
know
money.
now, it's
Yeah. I
like,
think Susan probably has a little opinion on this.
Yeah, Susan,
Because
you tell us your opinion.
I think this
Um,
is where you were like, bullshit.
bullshit. Well, no, my opinion is okay. I don't think he was like hindsight is obviously government shouldn't be keeping stuff from us to a certain degree, but what you're saying about national security, like I do think there's a certain level. My bullshit was like, I feel like they're people are just trying to race to beat other countries. Like it's not about the US safety. It's
Thank
more
you.
about I'd
Thank
rather
you.
have
They want to be in charge. Yeah. They
they
want to be
want
the
to be in
first.
charge and they want
You
to
want to be the
profit off
first.
it
Yes.
versus like China, look at like the race to space. Like we try to get up there before Russia, like all the different things. That's where I'm just like, this just seems like a lot of bullshit from our government.
Yeah.
From like keeping this. Whereas for like the past 50 years, if you look at alien life form, and for anyone that's under, I think, the age of 30, there were rag mags at the checkout stand that always had alien life forms found so and so. Like it was
Oh,
always
yeah.
a
That's right.
joke,
Yeah.
but
yeah,
it's
it's
not a
always been a
joke.
On the
joke.
I think
National
Yeah.
that's
Enquirer.
The
it's
National Enquirer and stuff. Yeah. That's
and
right.
if you think about like when we grew up in like in the early 80s, like all the sci-fi movies, like Close Encounters, E.T., like it clearly
Hmm.
wasn't a joke. This was, movies were created from something.
They mentioned that, I think, in the
Yeah.
Mhm.
documentary. They did say,
Yeah.
like, oh, then they kind of reach out to, like, the media. Then they reach out to LA to kind of make movies. And I've always
Hmm.
thought this was just kind of a little subtle way for us to start accepting that there is something. I think it's very
Yeah.
naive to think that the American people can't, like, I would think a lot of people probably believe in this at some point or another.
Yeah.
That's the theory. But I'm like, now we're talking about actually, yeah, national security and safety. And when we're talking like they're really coming and noticing a lot of our nuclear things. I mean, I think that's probably something to point out and all these
Yeah.
energy fields. And I'm like, no, there's things that like we should know. I get we're not going to know everything. That's not our job, and it is the job to. But I'm not naive enough to think that they're trying to protect the American people. I do agree with Susan. I think the whole point is like we have the control, we have the knowledge, we are in charge, and we will dispel it when we want to, and we want to be on top, so we don't want
Well, if
other
the
countries
government
to do
doesn't
it
know
first.
about anything, how are we going to dispel it?
Well,
We're literally putting the trust in like a Lockheed
N-
Martin or like a
or
multi-billion
I
trillion
don't
dollar
think, but it's
company
Raytheon.
not
or
only
Raytheon.
them that
Yeah.
knows. I mean, I guess the Air
I
Force
mean,
is not the government, but it sounds like the Air Force had a lot to do with like minimizing a lot of things. Why would the government and the Air Force not be working
I don't know.
together? Why
I
wouldn't
mean,
there be some accountability? And like
I
we
think
said this, and
that
it sounds like the Air Force did try to at first.
I think money
Yeah,
Plausible
trumps everything.
deniability.
Yeah. And I think
yeah,
money trumps everything. So I think
Follow the
these big
money.
companies
yeah.
are going to be the ones that ultimately
Put
own
the
the
brakes on the
technology
information.
and
Yeah,
are going to share what they share. And until they're held accountable, or, I think they were saying more in the or in the podcast about how, we need to give these guys like amnesty and for them to come out for not being honest. And like, yeah, I mean, they're
yeah.
not going to, unless they get something out of it or get reassurance that they're not going to prison.
Die.
what's
be
the
killed.
benefit?
Yeah.
And of course, we don't want like a bad actor like China or Russia to have this technology before we do. Like I totally agree with that. But then another point they were making is how do we get this to the smartest people in the world, not necessarily just the smartest
Just the
people in these
United
inner circles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought that was
yeah.
a good point too. I thought that, getting it, in the right hands. And somebody said Lockheed Martin, and I think it's important to note that if, and I believe that there was something that happened in Roswell. I believe, I mean, I'm not, like I said, I don't have any tangible other than eyewitness and a few books I've read, but clearly after this many years, something, and that many witnesses, something happened. And then I think if you go fast forward 70 years, it's always about money. And that's
Mhm.
why I think that,
True.
I mean, like if you look at the
Money and
advancements that
power.
we've made too
Money
technologically,
and
it's
power.
not super far off, I think, from like I don't think it's very tinfoil hat to like, hypothesize that, we got a little jump start in technology because I mean, look where we are now versus say like since Roswell. Like I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a huge leap in technology.
Yeah, I
So
think they said it's like we've advanced what 70,
yeah,
80, years, like more so than in the
right,
last 200. So,
Hmm.
I
right.
mean, we've
I think
come a
that's
long
like I
way.
said, I think that there's
Somebody
definitely.
did. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, no, it's okay. I was just going to close by saying I think that you know when you talk about the kind of advancements in the military industrial complex and like how many people like Bob Lazar have come forward, like and keep in mind the guy never made a dollar. He never like he hates interviews. His stories never changed, and I mean ever. And he didn't gain anything other than he ruined his life. And there's been several of those people. So I think I believe that something happened, and I think in our lifetime we're going to figure out,
I hope so.
some kind of a veil is going to be lifted. And I think that the reason why the government slow rolls it is simply they're in so incredibly deep now.
In the
If they did
lie.
pull,
In
And
the
the
like the
government.
lie
lie
and
is so
the
grand,
money.
and I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
talking about the lie like, oh, like I'm not talking about the religious or personal or any of those type of implications. I'm just talking about all the money that's been spent on it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
all the, like Rumsfeld years ago was like, I think we lost $20 trillion. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's money just getting funneled to these things that the taxpayers should have been
Yeah.
privy to.
Movie too.
Yeah.
Did you
Well,
Right.
guys find it interesting that they said something at the beginning when people were first coming out about it and they, were mentioning things and people were like very religious and
I
they're
was
like,
just
oh,
gonna
that's
say, what do we
and
think does this? What
and
happens?
they were
What
like,
does this do?
absolutely no, that's Satan. Those
Yeah.
are Satan's things. Those are not, you didn't see that, like trying to
Right.
basically convince people with and those are people who are in the government who work for us. And
Their religion is managing their decisions, which could
yeah,
impact
which now
everyone.
impacts everyone. And so
Hmm.
I found that very, very
Disturbing.
interesting.
I
Yeah,
Right.
found that
very
disturbing.
disturbing. It's not that we don't know now,
Like you're not going to
years
do
later.
anything
We know
about
that
this
people, yeah, and we know that
because you
people put their
believe.
religious opinions
But
into
you think
their,
about people with their
things
religious
all the time.
opinions. They don't believe that we came from apes. They don't think
Yeah,
about like so I can
exactly.
see if they are so far
Evolution. Yeah.
right religious in the government and maybe they know about this that they're just like this completely like negates everything that I believe in from the book and like the Jesus Mary story and
And a lot of these politicians used religion to get elected. And so, I mean,
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah,
and
Well,
absolutely. Their
I mean, if you
platform.
want to be clear, politicians, you know, and I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but politicians wrote the Bible. It
yeah,
was a group of men that got together, not gods. It was a bunch of
Yeah.
dudes got
Yeah.
together in 400 to 600 AD, and they all politically decided what would be best to go into this book.
Yeah.
It wasn't like some on high, let's put all this in. They took these and they said no to that. How do we sell that? They said this, I can sell this. Let's take that out. And that's how the Bible was made.
This is how PRBC works. Yeah,
I mean, that's
totally. We'll
really
take a little
how
of
that's
that, a
the
little bit of
truth.
this. It's just no,
That's
I'm
yeah, and I'm not bagging on any. I'm not
disagreeing with
bagging
it.
on the.
It's
I'm
just
not
funny.
bagging on anything
It's
really. I'm
just
just
funny
saying
and
that
kind of
there was
sad.
dudes that wrote that,
Yeah.
and it was for. It was too. You can't. I mean, even if you had only a reasonable IQ, you get a bunch of guys together that are going to decide how to control the masses.
Mhm.
Obviously, they're going to, twist it and make it so it fits this narrative of control. And so I think that's been going on for a really long time. I mean,
I agree.
since the very beginning.
From the very beginning.
But given where we're at now and what percentage of the world is a believer in those books,
Right.
do you think like Megan, you mentioned already, and I kind of agree, but I was talking to my hairdresser today and she was on the other side.
The great psychologist of the world. I love it.
Yeah, I said,
No.
I felt like, for example, if next week our beloved government came out with full disclosure, maybe not full, but like,
Totally.
full disclosure and was like, yep, no, we definitely do have alien spacecraft. We definitely have them in our possession. We have a whole program. We're allocating this much money. This is why it's important. We've got biologics. We've talked to them. We've hung out with them. Like if they came
Yeah.
out with that, like, do you think
Nobody'd have toilet paper for forever?
Well, so
Like,
like I
everybody's so
don't know.
crazy. And yeah, you're like, would everybody just
I'm of the
read?
opinion
Yeah.
that most
Half people wouldn't believe it.
people would be
Well,
like,
I thought
yeah, I kind of expected this.
totally.
But
I feel like the other half,
my hairdresser was like, yeah, no, the world would erupt into
implode.
chaos. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't really think it would. I think we're kind of been since the slow roll for years. I just feel like people are like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We know we're not alone. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It depends on the intent.
And it
Yeah.
also depends on the side. Like, I mean, the population, because I do think there's our side who I think we already assumed that there was something. We've listened to all
Right.
these things over the years, and we've just deduced that like they're not telling us everything, and they've got it all over in Area 51, and we'll figure it out later. And then there could potentially be that other side where they're just like at the stores, grabbing all the toilet paper, grabbing all the guns, grabbing all the everything, which is crazy to me because it's like,
Yeah.
then how smart is like, yeah, are we naive thinking that the world is smart enough to take in this information and be okay with it, and also be like, we're idiots for thinking that we were the only ones out here? That's just like ridiculous.
I've never thought that, for the
I've
record.
never thought that. I mean, like, from a child, I mean, the world is infinite.
But
So I
that
think it's
whole
very,
but
yeah.
that whole
But it's the religious part, and you got to think that's at least 50,
I think that's
60%
the
of the
part.
world.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
think that's the
part.
part where you might see some like uprising maybe. I
Mhm.
kind of agree with both sides of the argument. I think there's
Yeah.
obviously you're
Always.
always going to
Yeah.
have somebody that wants to riot in the streets for
For no
far
reason.
less
For
than
no reason,
finding out that aliens exist. So
Yeah.
right?
What a great
So
movie, though.
they're ready to riot for anything, so they'll riot for that too. But
Yeah,
I think that the masses, like you said, like I think anyone that looks up at the stars and really kind of like, again, with technology, realizes kind of in layman's terms how vast the universe really is. Just our own
own
close,
galaxy even.
galaxy and star system and stuff, and all the things that they're coming out with Goldilocks planets and so forth. And
once
obviously
I saw
the
that
big
thing fly
question.
into the water, I'm fucking never going in the ocean again. That
Well,
scared the
I mean,
living crap out of me.
I don't even think that. I think that we're still kind of at the starting line of figuring things out too. I think that right now we're basically high functioning monkeys still, kind of not not
Well,
like,
you're
I
not
mean, like,
far
we're
off,
pretty proud of
probably.
ourselves and we got cars and computers, but really, like, in the last 100 years, if you rewind 100 years, we didn't know shit hardly, and
Yeah.
so like, and we've only really been kind of like, lights on upstairs for how many thousands of years. That's a separate debate, but we're pretty young in the whole figuring
Evolution.
shit out thing.
Yeah. I will say I forgot his name, and he was one of my favorites in the documentary, but he said, despite our technological advances, they are not equivalent to the moral the increase in how we deal with each other. And
Yeah.
I've always said that. I was like, technology is advanced way farther than the actual human being has.
Yeah.
Well,
And
right.
that's frightening. Like they
The
even said, they're
problem.
like, yeah, that's the problem. I mean, they even said, they're like, well, what would they maybe be doing with this information? And they're looking at to see how we interact with each other, and like, would we bomb another country? Would we not? Would we do this? Would we do
Oh
that? And
yeah.
are they learning from our stupid decisions and watching? I
I
mean,
doubt they're learning anything from
anything.
us.
Yeah, that's kind of, I agree. I don't think they're learning
They might be
anything.
learning like what not to do,
I was
though. I
say
mean,
what not to do.
what
Yeah.
not to do. I mean, I don't
Right.
know.
In one of
Or like
the
they're looking at us like
A
an
little
ant
experiment.
farm, or like a
Yeah, yeah,
like a little pig farm or something. We're
Yeah.
down there and like running around killing each other, and
Mhm. Which is kind of embarrassing. I was like, I'm almost embarrassed now
which
of the
isn't
way
too
we
far.
are behaving for the
It's not too
aliens.
far fetched, really, when you think about how young we are. If there was an advanced civilization out there, and they had like what the military says, the ability to traverse without
Yes.
the technology that we don't currently have, and so like that would indicate that they're 100,000 or a
Far
million years
advanced.
ahead of us.
Yeah.
And so we've only been around for a few thousand, like with our pants on and stuff. And so they might be looking
Some
down
of
on
us.
us, just going, man, dude, these morons.
grow up.
Yeah.
Like they might be just like, okay, we're just gonna like check on them and we're not gonna let them blow themselves up. That kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah.
'Cause-
One of the little new agey books that I read this year was talking a little bit about that.
One of
and how, because in the documentary they talked about how a lot of the crafts are really, a lot of activity are around the nuclear sites.
Yeah.
yes.
And how they
Yeah.
had the very easy capability of powering on and powering off those weapons. And
yeah.
so one
That
of
was
the
super.
books,
Yeah, that
like,
was right.
her opinion was that they don't obviously want us to get into a nuclear situation where we just think about us and Earth, but maybe they're looking at it as, if they go nuclear, it's going to affect more
The
than
planets.
Earth.
The planets,
Gonna
exactly.
destroy our food supply.
Yeah.
That's a theory.
Yeah.
That's a theory.
Yeah.
There's so many out there. That's a
Yeah,
theory.
so,
Being
I mean-
harvested.
Yeah. I do wish they had talked to some people who have, speak of being taken.
Oh, there's plenty of them
and-
out there. You can find them.
I know, but I was like,
I
I just
mean-
thought this would be like a more kind of dignified and validating like documentary to have at least one or two people who are like, yeah, been there, seen it. They took me and probed me, and but we think that those people as quacks. Those are the people that Susan was talking about that were on the front of the Inquirer, and you're like, what an idiot. Put on your tinfoil hat. And and now you're like, oh, okay.
Did any of you guys follow that Travis Barker story? There's been a couple of things that sold
The drummer from Blink-1?
Travis, no, not Travis. It might not be. It's Travis Barker, maybe.
Okay, I was like that. Travis Barker's
Blink-182
drummer.
You're right. Or Blink-182 or something. Anyway, man, I'm getting old. Anyways, this cat's a forestry dude, and he's in it with a team of tough guys, and they're back in the forest. They're chopping down trees and doing whatever forestry dudes do. And this Travis dude, a beam of light comes down from the hill above, and all his teammates see the same beam of light. He is lifted off the ground, and all his teammates freak the F out and run for the pickup truck. They leave their chainsaws and gear. It's at night. They're finishing up the day when this happens. The sun's going down. They beat feet out there, and they get down the road about a quarter of a mile, and they go, dude, we can't leave our bro back there. So they go back.
Nice of them.
He's gone. There's no craft, no light, no nothing. And keep in mind, all these guys, they go straight to the police department and say, dude, we just saw a beam of light take our buddy. So naturally they go, these guys are on drugs.
Whatever. Exactly.
So anyways, fast forward, so I don't take up too much time. It turns out these guys all pass a polygraph. And this guy, Travis dude, 5 days later, stumbles out of the forest telling the story about what happened during his abduction. And he's another one of these guys like Bob Lazar, who's never, he's clearly traumatized. And if they interviewed those other dudes, and they were like, they were either like Academy Award winning dudes or
Yes,
it
which we
was
know
like
they were not.
something happened.
Exactly, something
Right.
happened.
Something happened.
Yes, I think it's also indicative into our society where we just like you have to see it to believe it. Because we don't
Right.
see it, well, which is weird because we talk a lot of shit about
Religion.
shit that we don't see, but it's
Yeah.
like there has to be like all this evidence, but you're like, wow, I mean, how many hundreds of thousands of people have to tell you that they've seen it or they've been abducted or they've whatever, and you still just don't believe what people tell you.
Well, that's
So
because of the government's mind control that
yeah, yeah,
Totally.
they made everyone out to be
yeah,
quacks, and if you bought
absolutely,
into it,
yeah,
you were
Tinfoil hat wearing
yeah,
yeah.
quacks.
totally, for
And
sure.
they
Yeah,
admit to it now. I mean,
yeah,
they admit that they ran that whole basically psyop
yeah,
to undermine the whole story.
yeah, and
Now,
still won't tell us everything.
there's a
Yeah.
So
couple
lovely.
there was a couple things in the, I don't know if it was the movie or the podcast that I wanted to touch on while we have a little bit of time. Let me just see if I remember. So I want everybody's opinion on the orbs. Basically, I
The
want
energy
everybody's opinion
orb.
on, there's, I think they said 4 different alien species that we've
Mhm.
verified. And then the other one where
Still haven't seen
you can,
one, by the way.
Yeah, I know they
right.
didn't. I thought a sketch or something would come
And
upon, but it didn't
one
happen.
you can, and then where you can have like psychic ability to basically see someone from a distance. What were they
Oh,
calling
remote
that?
viewing.
Remote
Yeah,
viewing.
remote viewing. Yeah.
Okay. So that first of all, when they were saying that there's been 4 different alien species identified, that's nuts to me. Like one was terrifying enough, but now we've got 4. Like, and
Wasn't there
not
more though? But they agreed that there was 4 from the pot. Like when I was listening to the
Identifiable,
pot, yeah, 4 that was identifiable, like that had been validated by multiple like
like that
divisions
we
of the
have their
government.
bodies or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
their
so like there is
biologics.
more,
So
but
that
like
doesn't even
multiple,
mean that there's
like
four.
multiple
Amanda,
agencies
yeah, yeah.
confirmed that.
Prepare
So
yourself, honey. There's more than 4.
Yeah.
yeah, no, but
We just don't have them.
that kind of blows my mind, Susan. I mean, doesn't it blow your mind that we don't have any of these guys kind of making themselves seen? I guess that's where I'm a little, I don't know
Ooh,
Like
why.
why
I
haven't
mean,
we
they?
have a little
yeah, I mean, I understand. I
skepticism.
don't think we're alone, but like,
Yeah.
why haven't they made themselves known? Like, they obviously have the ability to do that.
Well,
What are your theories on that?
I think one theory is, and this is like super hard for my small brain to wrap around, but kind of like how their crafts travel, where they can distort our laws of physics, our laws of time, our laws of
Gravity.
gravity.
Mhm.
Like some say that they could be here multi-dimensional, so
Walking
maybe
among
they're
us.
yeah, maybe they're here and we
Yeah.
don't see them because
Yeah.
of our physical limitations of sight. Like how
Yeah.
they described their crafts travel, and like gravity bends around it. Like they can go
Right.
through
Through
trees, they
tree
can go
Yeah.
through
walls. Yeah.
water, they can, so that could be one possible explanation.
Okay.
Could
No.
also be like if you're why would you want people to see you? So like I would just assume like that better technology, smarter beings, there's somehow that they can like disguise themselves or move
Yeah, maybe they don't want to be
along
seen.
amongst
Yeah.
us, because if you're trying to learn about anything, you don't necessarily want to be like, I'm an alien, I want to know whatever you guys are doing
Yeah.
up in here.
Don't want to rock the boat.
Yeah,
Well,
so
and I guess that
could be a lot.
also leads me to question intention, right? So, I mean, or maybe maybe we've been sharing this planet with multiple alien species for centuries and they just live in a different dimension, which just blows my fucking mind.
Forever. Yeah.
But, and they're, and this is one of the only habitable planets in the nearby galaxy. I don't know. But I would also just wonder, yeah, what is the intention? Because yes, they might be more evolved than us, but everybody needs resources, right?
Well,
I
one
mean,
of
you
the
can only
gentlemen,
imagine.
yeah, One of
They
the
need.
gentlemen said he thought that it was for, he's like, obviously they could have done so many things to us and have
Mhm.
not. So he
Yeah.
looked at it as like, I'm going to assume. I mean, it sounded so naive coming from this like general of whatever, intelligence agents he was from. And he's like, I'm just assuming that since they haven't done that, like they're here to like look at us and learn. And I'm like, they like you. Yeah, we're going to go with that
Mhm.
because I mean, they could have probably done a million things and are not. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
hoping that it's like a learning process. And that's why it's so weird to me, like why we're so just anti-learning about it. And the only way to learn about it is to talk about it, admit that it's actually a fact and it's true. And then, I mean, these could have been things that we were learning about in, history or in any of our science classes but instead to protect, power and money, we keep
Bingo.
it all
Bingo.
down. And we've done that in so many different
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
things in the
If you
world. I mean, it's not just this, not just talking about aliens. It's
Yeah, I was gonna say, with circling back to the money and power thing, obviously, every time I dig into one of these things, it interests me too, and it always leads me to back to the government lying to the
yeah,
people, pretty
yeah,
much
totally.
unanimously.
Yeah.
And so that I think that the money and power thing, like, if it would not surprise me if the reason why we only have limited eyewitness testimony is probably because they have like the ability not to be seen that much. They probably, like you said, their technology is so far advanced of
Yeah.
ours. But when they crash, yeah, there's like a little, like a Men in Black type situation. There's probably like and they probably have an agreement with our government so that the government and the churches and everybody can kind of keep the status quo. Is kind of, that's the only thing that really makes sense to me, is to let the archaic power structure that's kind of running the world stay in, because a lot of it would fall apart, don't you think? I mean, I
I
think it
don't know.
I don't know. I
I
think
don't
questioning
know.
people's religion, there's so many people that just, I don't know what it is in their brains, but they refuse to give that idea up despite facts, despite proof of other,
Science.
Could
yeah,
Yeah.
those
despite
belief
science.
systems coexist?
Yeah.
Could
Like why
For
Christianity?
I
for
think
some
so, for
people, I
sure.
hope, but not for everybody. I mean,
Yeah, like, I mean,
yeah.
I think that the if you
Maybe yeah.
all the stories that I've followed throughout all the last 15 years of like deep dive and rabbit hole stuff, is they all kind of, I mean, here's my theory. My theory is that everybody's praying to the same dude or the same chick, whatever. They're all praying to the same person,
Yeah.
roughly. And like
Yeah.
through time and history and thousands of years, yeah, the story might vary a little, but I mean, there's a bunch of people that tell like a great flood story or a flood myth
mm,
that never, they weren't like, China has a flood myth, and then the Polynesians have a flood myth, the
Different
Russians, like
cultures.
everybody has a
Yeah.
flood myth. So,
mhm.
but over time, and things get kind of muddled up. But I
Yeah.
think that they're everybody's praying to the same person, and honestly,
Same thing, different idols, It's
right.
like we just have different and yeah, people have
For
faith,
some reason, we
you
still
know.
want to kill each other over it, but
Ugh,
Yeah.
I know.
you know,
It's
But
very
then even
depressing.
somebody said that, like they talked about, like maybe if we weren't like, maybe if it was all about energy, and like, capturing this energy, we wouldn't be in all these wars about like oil and all. I mean, it was
Yeah.
just, there were a lot of things that were mentioned, I will say. So anybody listening, I would just recommend watching it because
Yeah.
there
oh
were just a lot of facets that I was like,
Yeah.
wow, it does. It has to do with energy. It has to do with like religion. It has to do with, our air force. It has to do with not believing people when they say they've seen something. It has to do with like covering things up and conspiracy theories. I mean, there's so many facets into just this, one little like, are there other things on the earth? And
yeah.
it was, or not on the earth, but I mean, I honestly thought two things. One, I love the JFK speech where he said, like, this is information to be shared with the world.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're not supposed to covet
Yeah.
information. This is about humanity and
Mhm.
Right, and
people
I
and
believe he was
humanity.
killed for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, same.
Yeah.
Like we can go back to, but exactly. It's like And that's how, like, wow, is that how protected and coveted power and information is, which
Yeah.
is fucking frightening, which I think we all
Yeah.
know, but I think a lot of people just don't want to like lay their head down at night. I mean, I wasn't listening to Marco Rubio talking about like at night I lay awake thinking of this. And I was like, that's what you think of? You're disgusting, but whatever. Um there's a lot bigger things to be worrying about, now. But I mean,
Little Marco.
it also comes back to you have the whole population worried about like not having health insurance. Like, who cares about aliens? Who cares about the secrets that are being covered up?
Yeah.
Who cares about the money trail to a million different Lockheed Martin contracts?
Well,
And you're
but
tired, you're exhausted. I don't care.
that's the
Let's
thing
watch Men
that
in Black.
Rubio was talking about. He was saying that I'm concerned that the average American doesn't know where their money's going. Not to that sense, but I'm
Yeah,
paraphrasing.
kind of.
And he's
It's
like,
kind of what
I'm
he said. Yeah.
concerned about that. And
The
I was
taxpayer.
like,
He was concerned about the
why are you
taxpayers.
now concerned about this? We
Thank
don't know
you.
where half our money goes.
Thank
The
you.
country's
Yeah,
in debt. Like,
exactly.
Well, so that actually brings up another question, kind of devil's advocate. I was thinking was, so what if this soft rollout now is just another psyop for money
Right.
and control?
I'm scared for
So they disclose all this. They get everyone all up in a tizzy frizzy and freaking the F out, talking about national security and this is a threat and blah, blah, blah. And it's just
Money
another
grab.
way
Yeah.
for them to
Yeah. Oh,
get
for sure.
control and money. And so it's like, fuck, I just trust
Yeah.
the government so little
Not
that
at all.
even when
Oh
they're,
yeah, no, for
you
sure. That
know,
they will do that. I think what
yeah,
you're saying is actual fact because I don't think any five of us is going
Show
to
me
sit here
the
and agree.
aliens.
Yeah, that they're going to be like, we're doing this for for
good of
humanity and
humanity.
the American public. And I mean, they're not doing jack shit for us. NASA just got involved like a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're.
That was bizarre. I'm like, how do we're talking about aliens coming from space and we don't even have like the biggest space system. And it was just all of it just seemed very bizarre to me. And we all know that our best interests and intentions are not what they're protecting us from. They're
Yeah.
protecting
Not at all.
themselves and the money and the power and the
Yeah.
contracts and what they can do with this evidence and this money and this power and these contracts.
Yeah. So
Period. Point
why
blank.
why
Yeah.
the disclosure now? It just kind of makes you
Yeah.
like,
Well, how? I mean, is it
frustrating.
really disclosure
It's
though?
not.
Like,
It's
I
just
mean,
this guy coming forward and saying, I
you
can't
just
live
have another.
without.
You have
Yeah.
another whistleblower kind of
Yeah.
rolling out this other kind of thing. Like, and you hear these people going, "Yeah, there we definitely have biological entities that not from this or whatever they call it,
Yeah.
extraterrestrial, this and that." Well, show me one. I
Yeah.
want to see one. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I get it. I do understand. And going
They
back
gave
to
you
the whole,
ET, Darren. Come on.
but maybe
I
that's
know, but
okay. So maybe
I
this is all bullshit because no one's seen anyone.
Yeah.
well,
Well, none of
I
us
do
have
think
seen
that they
them.
get.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm
I
like,
can
you think they're
name.
not going to come out with that for a while? I think they
No,
would
I
tell,
know, but
they'd say that it's
Why would
actual
they?
scientific fact, but they wouldn't show us a picture.
Why would they keep
Yeah.
everybody in the dark as long as
Abs-
you can? Because like you
absolutely.
don't want to risk the status quo.
No,
And I
for
think that
sure.
this slow rollout, like
Oh,
Carolyn's saying, is another psyop. It's
yeah.
another. I mean, at
It's just
this rate, I'm
scary
going to
and
be
sad.
dead before I know anything, and I can name a dozen, like a dozen probably government cover-ups that have now been mainstream, come to light as to be true. When everybody goes, "Oh, you're just a weirdo conspiracy theorist," then you find out, "Oh no, the government really is evil."
Yeah. Do you
You
get that a
know?
lot? Do you get a lot of people who tell you you're like
Oh
that?
well, I mean, the tinfoil hat thing gets thrown around, but I think it's just a matter of like people don't really dig. Like if you dig a little
Yeah,
into any story, it's
exactly.
just always involving money and power, whether it's
Totally.
war. I mean, I can name two wars that I was personally involved in, and I don't even really, I think they were both for money, power,
Of
oil,
course.
control.
Yeah.
And the
Well-
same thing could be said with like the medical thing, like gain of function research. How many times has the government stuck needles in people that doesn't belong in their arms or whatever? Like, how many times
Certainly.
have like biological stuff gotten leaked out into whatever and blah, blah, blah. Like, I just don't really trust anything that they do.
Yeah,
Really.
for sure.
I think you just hit we were talking earlier and like off text message, I was kind of dogging on both, not the documentary and the podcast, but I was just dogging on it 'cause I felt at the end of the podcast that I listened to that's where they were going with this, that they couldn't wait for this to be exposed because it would give a certain president, this is his one thing and he's going to get so much
Right.
money and he's going to, we've gone to war and it's been proven that it's for power and money and it's also to change
Every
the
time.
trajectory. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was
Every
like,
time.
this to me was another setup. Every time you're just trying to set something up so someone has some sort of like popularity
Setting the
or get
stage.
something on. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
But
I
are
was
we
like,
so like disenchanted that we'll think that anytime somebody comes out with information that we're like, nope, there's got to be some reason. There's
That's
an
what I mean.
agenda.
That's what
Yeah.
I
Basically, I mean, he came out and he said all this and he had kept it to himself. And I'll never, when he even said, he's like, I was sitting there in traffic and I felt so alone. Like I'm the only one who, like, I'm the only one who knows this and other people don't know it. How isolating, how terrible to feel that way and weird. I mean, I think we probably feel alone even in our conversations with certain people when they think you're crazy for thinking these things. So it's like, is there, in the society that we live now, can you ever come out with anything that people aren't going to be like, what's the agenda?
No, I think
What's
we're
the
so
agenda?
fucking jaded because
Totally.
we've been lied to
Boy, that
so
call
many
So
wolf.
much.
times
Exactly. People just
So
want
many
the fucking
times.
truth.
that
That's
even
what I'm
if
saying.
it
Just give
even
us
if
the
they
truth.
came out with proof and biologics, I feel
Yeah.
like
People
people
be
would be
like,
like,
no,
I
that's a
don't
false.
know.
Yep.
Right.
No,
Oh, that's AI or that's
AI.
some
Yeah.
made up blah blah.
Totally.
Yeah. This is a
Yeah.
money
No.
grab.
We
Yeah.
would need a big
It's,
spaceship, I think,
yeah.
floating
Like,
We're
over
jaded.
Washington,
totally
D.C.
hovering over the, yeah.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, if they called it a tic tac shaped thing any longer in that doc, I was like, it's oblong. Oblong. Is that not that's a shape?
Not a lot of
Tick.
people know what
I was
oblong
like, we're
is.
talking to
They
like
were dumbing it
science,
down.
but they're
Um,
scientists. And I'm like, tic tac
they're dumbing
shaped.
it
I'm like,
down. But
oblong.
we are getting close to time here. But Susan, you didn't get a lot of time today. Fill us in on your final thoughts.
oh, no, I firmly believe that there is life outside of us. I think it goes beyond us. I think it's way more advanced. I think we as a country sending stuff out to outer space and blowing shit up, truly think that's the worst thing we've ever done.
Yeah.
And like going in and saying, because like you just don't know what's out there. So how do we,
Yeah.
maybe we're not just knocking on the door, maybe we're ruining other places. And then eventually this is going to come back to bite us. Like, I think there are so many people in power that we think the United States, America is the best. Like, I just think it's obnoxious.
Yeah. And tell the listeners what you're referring to.
I just was
Sending things
listening.
out, blowing up. Yeah. I know what
Oh,
you're
so
talking
they were
about.
talking about, testing nuclear weapons in outer space
Mhm.
and how that's what we've been doing a lot of, as well as testing them in the
The
ocean.
ocean.
And it just is like so mind-boggling that we would even allow to destroy our own ecosystem by blowing up things in the ocean and or blowing up things in the middle of the desert, which has been found to cause multiple people with cancer. That's a whole nother segment. But it's just so it's
That
just
Midway Island thing, that was a really interesting thing.
yeah.
They did nuclear testing out there, and all those
Yep.
poor people out there are all sick.
Or all
Picking
the
a
nuclear
fight
testing
with
they did in Nevada, and then
Mhm.
that film that John Wayne was in,
oh yeah.
almost like half the people on the 100 people on the set came down with
Oh yeah, I
cancer
heard
within
about
10
that.
in
Yeah.
life, and all died as a result of it.
But that again, I think is a great example of how they're not doing this for us.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I
They
don't think
know
they're
they
doing
don't
it in the name of
care.
us. They
Yeah.
don't care.
It's a few thousand people making all the decisions and they don't give a shit about like the
Humanity.
rest.
Totally. Yeah, I
And
don't
it's
believe that.
insane to me. I mean, it's actually, that's insanity.
But I think you have a very good point there, Sue, that, yeah, we don't know whose door we're knocking on. We're picking a fight. Obviously, I think they mentioned this in either the movie or the podcast. We're picking a fight with a much more intelligent, advanced
Yes.
species. So at some point, it's going to come back, and I think we will see the consequences. I mean, we are already seeing it in global warming and higher rates of disease and cancer. Our food is poisoned, our water is poisoned, our fish is. I mean, you can be as healthy as you want, but everything's poisoned. So
Right.
it doesn't
Here's
matter.
a question though. Do you think we'll see it in our time? Like any sort
An
of real
alien?
answer? No, real answers, whether it's aliens or
I think this president now, I mean, I don't know how, he's very divisive. You hate him or you love him. But I think if anybody's going to come out and say something, his ego, I think, would
He'll
lead
star
him
in the
to that.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if it's there to
Men in
be,
Black 3.
if it's there to be
All right.
like, if he can get
We're
to
number
the point
one.
where he has
Yeah.
that ability,
Wait,
right? I
but
think he will.
on a side note, I watched G.I. Joe this weekend. Yeah, go ahead and laugh at me. Or maybe it was G.I. Joe 2.
Thank you
And
for the invitation because I
well,
couldn't hold it
and
back.
also there was this technology where the president wasn't the president, he was someone else. And I was like, well, maybe that's what's happening now.
Oh
Maybe our
God.
president has been captured by someone else who's like a complete
Uh-oh.
moron
That's a rabbit
and
hole.
Doppelganger.
an
Yeah.
alien. Like I just was like, dude, who knows what's
You
available?
came with this
Yeah,
brilliance at the end of the podcast,
I
I
Susan.
know.
know, but I meant to bring that up earlier, but that was something I was like watching this weekend after, and I think it was one of those text messages from you guys being like, "So you guys gonna watch this?" And I was like watching GI Joe. I was like, "Yeah, I don't know about that."
G.I.
Too much
Joe 2.
PTSD from the
I was
documentaries.
like, I just
So
need
she
to
had to
watch
watch
something.
G.I. Joe.
Yes. You know how I get. I watch something action packed that I've seen
Oh,
before
you
20
kill
million
me.
times.
You kill me. That's funny.
Yeah. Well, I guess you and let's just go around and we'll wrap it up here. Do you guys think that we will see actual proof of this in our, let's just say, next 10 to 15 years? Or
I think I'm gonna live to 96, so I believe I'll see something.
what about the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, that's 5 to 10 years. The 5 years will be all this. They're gonna make how many more committees to talk about all this stuff and waste a bunch more money, and something may start to happen in like 10. But I think we're going to waste a lot of money, talk a lot
Inside.
about. I mean, I will say there was a part even in the doc where I was like, okay, it's just everybody saying the same shit. Like this is annoying. Like
Yeah.
can something be done and happen? So I think it's gonna take us a minute to do that.
What about you, Carolyn?
Maybe 10, but again, I think they'll roll it out in pieces just like they've rolled out everything else. These
Everything.
little soft bullshit crumbs that really don't add up to jack shit. It just kind of softens our attention span to
Mhm.
we'll be on to something else, I
That's what they
guess.
said. We only
You
have
don't think
30-minute attention spans.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it makes
You
me
don't think
sad
Trump will just
though.
come up and like you don't think his ego, his like
Well,
legacy might
I actually do think, but so say, like I
he
said, I mean,
does.
say he comes out next week
Mhm.
and says exactly what I said. Yeah, we've got spacecraft and we're reverse engineering. We've got biologics. Say he says that, but like we all followed up with, unless we
See it.
like see it,
Yeah.
then it just gets lost in the shuffle of the next thing, which makes me sad
Yeah.
because I do believe in that it's real. It makes me a little bit sad that, everyone would just kind of blow it off and go on to the next thing. But I think if
That's
it
what will
happens,
happen.
that's what will happen.
What about you, Sue?
Yeah, I think that he'll only come out and say something about it if he's in a bind because he just gets so much worse. Or yeah, I don't know.
So maybe. You're a
Darren?
maybe. Darren?
I think that if there's something for him to gain,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like he seems to be like the guy that is like, kind of like if it's not good for the United States, I'm not doing it. Kind of a guy. Like if it doesn't make money or if it doesn't save lives or if it doesn't blah blah blah, he's kind of
What about just for
I,
his
I don't know.
legacy?
I can't see any reason why I think I agree with Carolyn. They're probably just going to keep slow rolling it.
Yeah.
Keep the status quo. Like you said, keep the big corporations in power, the big defense contracts in power as long as they can. That's my theory. When you're talking about billions of dollars, it's like saying,
Yeah.
are they going to, disclose the cure for cancer? Even though
Yeah.
I'm
Exactly.
No.
pretty sure
Yeah. We
it's
already
out
have
there.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
The
good for
only
business.
the only
Yeah.
thing that
It's not good
makes
for business.
The only thing that makes me question that, though, is with some of this disclosure, is the public knowledge of these programs where billions and billions and billions of dollars are going. So I guess what he would gain maybe from it is to continue the money flow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We'll have to talk
All
about
right.
is there a
Love
cure
you
for
guys. Gotta
cancer
go.
next
Bye.
time.
That's it.
I was gonna have her take us out, but one of you will have to do it this time.
Oh, I can do it. Oh,
You wanna do
Darren,
it?
do you know our
I don't think he
tagline?
knows our
No, he
tagline.
No,
doesn't.
I don't remember.
I don't know, but I will have to say I just pulled the largest strand of tinsel out of my cat's mouth. It's like,
Oh,
what is
Interesting.
happening? Yeah, sorry. Just to
That's
lighten up
okay.
the end of that. I'm like, okay.
Well, yeah.
Um,
So I'm very curious to hear your guys' thoughts on, is there actually a cure for cancer? I mean, that makes sense.
yeah.
No, a whole nother story, but
oh my God, but
my
another
my brain
podcast.
just,
I'm down. I'm
I
down for
think maybe
that.
next week. Maybe. Anyway, thank you, listeners, for listening to another episode of the Karens. Hopefully, we didn't cause more questions than answers, but we probably did. As a reminder, if you have questions for any of us or would like any topics to be discussed specifically, feel free to email us at info@thekarenspodcast.com. That's info@thekarenspodcast.com. Megan?
And thanks, Darren, for coming and joining us.
Yes. Thank you,
Darren.
Yeah, it
Darren.
was
Good
My
to
awesome.
bad.
It's good to see you guys. And
you.
anytime you want an extra person to yak with you, I'm down.
Yeah,
Awesome.
cool.
We'll definitely
Yeah.
have you back. Thanks. It was
One
good
white
seeing
male
you.
opinion we like to listen to.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Karens, where we have opinions on everything, but we are experts on nothing.
Ooh, good job, Megan.
Thank you. I know I'm like how to do this. I might
Heard
take
it now.
over.
Love you guys.